I'm David Kep again. David informed me that the Texas Master Gardener volunteer agreements are going to be on the table. If you took your EVS course in this quarter, January, February, or March, you need to also sign this paper volunteer agreement thing and leave it. You can leave it with me or Pam, one of us, to give to David, okay? So just pick one up on the way out and bring it back.
Then you're so legal at
And
home.
then your legal beagles, okay? So David wanted me to pass that along, and Pam, back to you.
Okay.
I'm no longer David.
Well, I'm having a really hard time tonight introducing Peter because he is so active in so many things. I could almost be mad at him about it, but I can't because he's so cool. He's a master gardener. Well, I'm just going to put fingers up, okay? He's a master gardener. He's part of the Guadalupe County Master Gardeners. He was in my class, class 30. He is a member of the Audubon Society. He's a master composter. And that was the first thing when he started doing composting lectures back when. He is a co-coordinator of the City Nature Challenge, which he talked about last month, didn't you? Yeah. He also is a land steward of a place called Prospect Forest, which is a private area of land that he's trying to keep natural. He's a river walker. Man, I'm not starting over and I lost count with my fingers. He's also a river warrior. That's number 9, okay? With the San Antonio River Authority, trying to keep things going with the restoring our waterways. So he has got his finger in so many pies in this area that certainly one of those things is something that you might be interested in. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff that he's involved in, I know I didn't say it. Native Plant Society, that's 10, okay. He's part of the Native Plant, okay, he was on the board, okay, but if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, stay afterwards and talk to him and let him help you get involved. Because, and he's a master naturalist. I forgot that part too. That was another finger supposed to go up. Like I say, he's involved in so many things. Here he is. He's in the corner of the room. His name is Peter Hernandez. Give him a hand. Good grief. He makes me look so bad.
Well, you do all wonderful work. I'm amazed what y'all do. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I had 4 tubes in my throat Monday, so if you can't hear me, get closer. or check your batteries. But I'll try to do as loud as I can. Every time I do a presentation, I like to put the QR code. You can follow along on your iPhone, so you're welcome to that. I always share my information. We're all in it together. So, identifying plants, bugs. There's a little bug here. I know, Robin, I saw you made an observation on it. So you probably know what it is.
No, I don't. What is it?
Good, you don't know. Hopefully by the end of this meeting, you'll know how to do that, how to find it. Well, this little caterpillar was in my garden, and I liked it. It is a battlefield, but to know your enemy is to know how to win the war. So, that's one of my things, is knowing what's good, what's bad. So this little guy, is it a good guy or a bad guy? Just no idea. Huh? Good guy. Okay. Anybody want to avoid this? Okay. It was actually sitting out right below my raised garden. So why does it matter to identify things? To understand the living things I think is around us is very important. It makes us more mindful. We make better garden decisions. Recognize pollinators versus pests versus beneficial insects. I think that's very good. And then building awareness of biodiversity. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned between being a master gardener, master naturalist, and composter is always being biodiverse. And what I mean by biodiverse is not only a monoculture of things, always growing the same thing, but bring in other things. Because when we do monoculture, we kind of eliminate other bugs or other things that need our help. So this little guy, and I know everybody, I'm going to get into, I know, that's what it is, pipevine swallowtail. And I know Pam, when she sent me an email, we're talking back and forth, she said, make it fun. Okay, I'll try not to be boring. I don't know if you heard my nephew, he kind of says, Uncle Peter, he's boring. Well, of course I am, if you're always on the computer playing games. But anyway, I like nature, and it's also like everybody else. But this is a pipevine swallowtail. But why it was right next to my garden, or what, my raised bed, it was because of this little thing. Anybody recognize that?
Pipevine.
Pipevines, it is a pipevine, but it's actually called swanflower. Thank you.
Swanflower.
Yes, and you can kind of see that it has a pipe-looking kind of a flower. I always used to cut it because I thought it was a grass and I didn't want that grass there, but it actually, if you look at it closer, it's not a grass. It's a pipevine, in the pipevine family. So that was interesting to me. So I realized that's the host plant. And knowing the host plant is very important. So I knew not to pull that, and I left it there. And actually it was in a cinder block, and it's been coming back every time, because I do have a raised bed out of cinder block, and that's where this swanflower sits. And it's protected. These swallows come in, lay their eggs, have their babies, and so on. So here comes a little bit of boring stuff, but I'll try to stay on it. So we all have different apps, to identify things, which is good. There's a whole list. I went and did a little research, different types, PlantNet, Google Lens, Picture This. They're all there. Some of them are free, some of them you pay for, some of them are pretty good, but what I found that most of the apps that we have for gardening are very singular. It can only do, they'll give you the information, but that's all they do. And they'll lead you in the right direction. But they all apply AI. And why not just depend on AI? Well, I will tell you, as a gardener, as a master naturalist, don't depend on AI. It gives you a guess. I agree with that. It gives you a good indication where to go, but it could be wrong. I do like ethnobotany. That's another one. I do a lot of ethnobotany, which is looking at native plants and what are medicinal, what are pre-pioneer era, what plants they use. They did not have the HEB. I'm always curious to see, how did they survive without HEB? So that's one of my interests. So you could be wrong. It could be tricky. Sometimes the natives versus the non-natives, you can't really tell. Sometimes there's a lot of look-alike species, and there's also seasonal changes. The AIs, especially seasonal changes, in the winter, it's harder to identify plants because they're in the dormancy. So it has its limitations, but it still gives you that direction. So here's a bee, a California digger bee that I found. I took a picture in my garden, and I wouldn't know it was a California digger bee, but I could now go research that and say, okay, am I stepping on its hive somewhere? And these guys go in the ground. Here's some other ones I found very interesting looking at in my garden. And there was these, anybody recognize these bees? Everybody should. Honeybees, yes. And they're called the Western honeybees. And they were all sitting in a pot that I had just propagated. I had just propagated, and they were just, y'all know I use compost, so I had some compost in there. Well, they went after I think, they went after the minerals and the moisture that it was producing from the compost and that was there.
I'm getting them in my pots too.
Okay? There-
Honeybees.
Honeybees. So of all of these AI apps, the one that I like to use most, and the one that I like to push is iNaturalist. So, and the reason why I push iNaturalist is because it's a community base. You know, AI is great, but you also share it with the community. And I will tell you, once I share it with community, and I don't know if those that do iNaturalist have, you know, you'll have people from Tennessee, PhDs, answering you and saying, yep, that's what it is, or can you tell me, can you take another picture of that, or something. And you can also put notes. So I knew what was happening here, because this happened last year, but I wrote notes in my iNaturalist and said, hey, you know, it looks like they're just going after the decomposing organic matter. And I guess it really takes, you really got to dig deep to be satisfied. So,
Pam wrote that for you, right?
yeah, she wrote that. Here's another observation I did. These two guys, actually I took this when COVID was around, when we were told not to have social distance. So on iNatural, I always put pictures in there sometimes. I know it's for biologists and so forth. This is, you know, and I just put on my iNaturalist, this is not social distancing, dragon breath. But anyway, what is iNatural? It is a free app. You can identify not only plants, insects, mushrooms, birds, any organisms. It could be dead or alive. Hopefully it's alive, but they will take dead things. Also, roadkill is among them, you know, but you got to do that safely. You know, and it is very important. Talk about roadkill. There was this one, I want to say he was a PhD out of Austin, and he would stop to take a picture of the roadkill. And it was not known until that time. I want to say it was a spotted skunk. They thought it was just to the east of East Texas. His observations said, oh, they're migrated to further west than we knew. And there's other cases like that where just taking incidental observations, it helps science in a certain way. Okay, so for it to work, you have to have a photo. It does do a AI suggestion. And when I talk AI, I'm not talking about the big AI. It's really a AI called computer vision, which is really looking at photographs and identifying it. And that's all it does. And so the more data it has, the better it does in identifying. It's kind of like the cameras and I think of the cameras in the airport that are kind of doing face recognition. That's basically what it is. It isn't you know, you could do a suggestion, hey, write me a presentation for tonight. You know, it doesn't do that for you. It does do, one thing it does do, it does recordings. You could put a recording in of a sound of an animal or a bird. And there's no AI in it, but it does, you can do that. And again, what I like about it is a community expertise. So you do have some expertise that actually will pop in and look at it. And maybe you'll have somebody researching that digger bee and want to know, in which I've gotten calls from UTSA, Dr. Beckham at UTSA, zoologist, saying, hey, can you help us identify the plants associated with a bee? So every time that bee that I took a picture of, they want to know what plant it was on. So they want to know where are they going the most? Okay, so there was somebody doing their PhD in UTSA, so that kind of helped them. So there's a lot of background usefulness in it. So it's used by scientists, land management, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I use it as a gardener, provided you give it the verifiable data, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So basically, what I'm asking people to do, and this is why I'm the co-coordinator, is become a biodiverse citizen scientist, just to be a scientist. There's not enough biologists. Anne that talked last month, there's not enough for her. She's my advisor actually in Master Naturalist, just like Austin's our advisor here at Master Gardeners. So, but what we're asking is go out, find wildlife, take a picture, take a recording, and then share that. Simple as that. You know, so step one, I did pass out, or there, I don't know if there was enough of these, and if you got that email from April saying that we're going to do a little contest, so that was trying to make it fun, Pan. So those that, if you have this in front of you, it does show you how to download, or to ask you to download and join the Master Gardeners, and there's going to be a reason why, and I'll get more into it. So step one is just to download, and these are just where you could go. But not everybody is into that, but that's okay. I'll try to be friendly on my presentation. So, and then once you download it, step two is to join the project. I want y'all to join the project, and I will tell you, and I know Keith and Robin were at the Master Gardener meeting in Wilson County. They also have a group, their own little project, and that same project, they actually have the same amount right now that y'all have joined. So I'm trying to get more people involved in this project, and I'll get more into detail. So really,
We challenged them to have more than us, so you guys just go back.
yes, I did challenge them to have more than y'all. Now they are a bit smaller than y'all, so I'm hoping that y'all will just
Trump 'em.
yes, thank you. But it's a funny thing, this year they said, we're not supposed to be doing challenges. I really got a letter from, I'm sidetracking here, but I got a letter from California, from somebody from LA, one of the organizers of City Nature Challenge, and said I was using some verbiage on my header that was not appropriate.
You're cheating.
And you know what it was? It says, National Champs 2025. That's all it said. Yeah, that's what I said. Give me a break.
You said they're from California?
That, into the hunt.
Jealous, jealous.
Even the bees are leaving that.
Thank you. But anyway, that's another story. I won't get into that. So I know my co-coordinators really, we had an hour and a half argument about it. You know, I was said, you can't erase history. We did what we did last year. It is what it is. You can't change it, you know. And, but anyway.
Under the bus? Is that what you're doing?
No, bragging on us. No bragging on us.
Yeah, bragging on us, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was bragging on us. He didn't like it out there.
Calm down.
yeah. Well,
Well, when he's out there rooting for them instead of
no.
Us.
Yeah, they were telling us to take off things that we shouldn't have on our banners. They're just on our projects. But, you know, so, but anyway, let me move on because I could get really deep into it. Which next year, I already told my co-coordinators, so I don't think I'm going to be doing this anymore because if that's the attitude, I'm not going to. But anyway, it is a good system. iNaturalist, that is a separate group that's doing it, not iNaturalist itself. Let me just say that real quick before we get lost. But next year, I'll probably set up my own BioBlitz and do it that way. But anyway, we're becoming a citizen scientist, and what are the things that you're kind of looking at? Yes, we're going outdoor, finding wildlife, but when you take a picture, taking a picture, you want to make sure that you have a good enough photo, clear, close up. You know, what I see on Facebook a lot of times, you know, they take a picture of a plant and they're like right here, like it's going to jump up at them. No, you really have to get up close, be personal a little bit. You know the leaf. You know if it's alternate or not. Is it opposite or not? You know, those are things that are the characteristics of plant. Who brought up a plant up here? You did. You know, I looked at the characteristics of the plant and I saw, hey, that looks like a hibiscus. You know, it may not be from here, but I knew it was a hibiscus. So it may, and we'll talk about how they're sometimes all related. So you take a picture, you make sure you make your observations properly, and I missed this part too. You can use the AI, if you know what it is, great. It does give you suggestions. For science, you need date, and that's normally automatic if you're using your phone. Location is also important. I will tell you, if you don't have location, it kind of defaults to Africa. It doesn't default to Africa, so you always want to put that. And it took me a while until I had a presentation, and I showed where it was. It's actually off the coast of Africa, and they said, oh, and it dawned on me too. Oh, that's latitude zero. I said, oh, okay, that's where it just starts at 00. But and when it stays at 00, it starts looking in that area for that type of plant or animal or organism. So if you move it to Texas, at least it's now looking at this data set of species here in Texas and not in Africa. Okay. So and then once you have all this. There's other couple other things that I want you to be aware of is if you're at home and you're sharing your location, it does have a feature where you could say obscure. And it obscures your location. Like when I do my location, obscure, it just says now Texas. It doesn't say my address, or it doesn't have my street. It doesn't give address, it just says street if I don't put it on there. But anyway, and then also, it's okay for us, I did say wild, but it's okay for us to use it as for cultivated. I do put my cultivated plants in there because I want to keep record, and I could go back and filter and pull everything that I put in, and you'll see that in a bit. Okay, so what is the City Nature Challenge? What am I getting y'all into? So it is a global event that happens on the last 4 days of weekend of April, and last year there were 690 cities that participated in it. This year, I've been looking at the numbers, and it's in between 800 to 900. And just to give you why I put 25, I'm going back to that national champ thing. Out of the 690, we were second in observation, first in species, and fourth in participation in the globe. Champs. So, and then we were champs.
But explain, you're counting those counties around San Antonio.
Yes.
You're going to talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But
Not the city.
so why it shows city, and I've heard this in Bandera County, City Nature Challenge. Well, we're not in the city, but it's a city thing. And no, it's region. When it first started back in 2016, it was San Francisco and LA doing the City Nature Challenge together. They started it, and then the next year there were 16 locations, and then finally we got involved in 2018. And it was really the metro areas, all the counties touching that major area. So there's Bexar County. Guadalupe touches Bexar County. So we are considered part of that greater San Antonio area. And then we added some other counties due to my influence with the San Antonio River Authority. River Warrior thing. We were warriors then. But anyway, so these are all the cities that are there. These are all the different locations from Canada, UK, China, Bolivia. Bolivia actually won last year, but they cheated. I will tell you they cheated. But I'm not going to go there. I can't go there. But they did change the rules in our favor this year. So I'm happy with that. But the City Nature Challenge here in Texas, it is really supported by Texas Parks and Wildlife. Why I talked to Ann a lot and her cohorts, because it's one of the things.
Are you talking about Anna Curtin?
Yes, Anna
Okay.
Curtin.
She spoke last week,
Month. Yeah, she spoke last month. She's my advisor. Also, it is also it's actually run by this department called Nature Trackers in the Texas Parks and Wildlife. They're the ones, and there's only 2 biologists in the state of Texas that runs that, and they're basically trying to get citizen scientists going across the state because there's not enough biologists looking at stuff to make clear conservation issues or make policies or so forth. So when we do this, it is very important. Right now, these are the counties that are participating, and you can see our let me turn on the laser. Can you see the laser? Yep. There you go. So I put the writing on. Well, that's where we're at. But you can see everything. Austin's there. Anybody from Hayes County here? Good. I'd have to give
Big
you.
part of it?
Hayes County? No? Okay. They're outside of our zone. I don't want them to hear this. But anyway. Yeah, this is Hayes County right here. Austin. And so, but this is all our counties here. Guadalupe is definitely in our area. So what is step 3? Step 3, this is our zone, like Keith was saying. All the counties that touch Bexar County is the greater San Antonio area, is considered the greater San Antonio area. And then with the River Authority, they actually have the River Authority in San Antonio all the way down to Goliad, and then it goes into the Guadalupe River here. But that's the end of their authority. So
They're added because they have the river?
they have the River Authority all the way down to
San
Goliad.
Antonio River.
Yeah,
Flows through Goliad, yeah.
right,
Okay.
right. So, and then it meets the Goliad, it meets the Guadalupe further down before it goes into San Antonio Bay. But anyway, and then Kirk County and Gillespie. Gillespie, if you ever look at the map, Gillespie is actually further north than Round Rock. Or as further north, but Gillespie had the opportunity to go to Austin, but they didn't want to go to Austin. They wanted to come to San Antonio. I said, hey, welcome to the club. And then Kirk County, Kirk County just had the YMCA, that's the ranch there, and that's why they came out. This is our mascot. These are birds. Anybody recognize these birds? Of course y'all do. That's our mascot for this year. That's our project. And you can see, I did not take it off of my PowerPoint presentation, and this is the thing that they were complaining about. This little line right there. But anyway, it's water under the bridge, I tell you. But if you want to join this, I always ask people to join the main project of the San Antonio metro area, or the 12 counties, because it's kind of like saying we're coming to an RSVP. It is optional, but you could join it. And we do want you to make observations within this 12 counties between the 24th and the 27th to see what our biodiversity is going on. You don't have to just go to a park. You could go to your backyard. You could go to, down the right of way. Wherever you find nature, something wild is what we're looking for. Okay, you name it, you could find it. And this is we did set up a website 3 years ago, and that's where I started picking up my cohorts in crime. And because back 4 years ago, my wife says, "There's no way you can handle it anymore." I said, "Yeah, I got to divide and conquer," and that's basically what y'all do as a board here. So we did set up a City Nature Challenge website, and it has an interactive website where you could see what's happening, what events are happening. Again, you don't have to go to these events. You could do it in your backyard and so forth, but you could explore the area. Go to areas that you've never seen before. It is great pleasure to find a plant that's in the nursery, that's in the wild, that is native, and it's there by itself, and nobody's watering it, and it's still blooming, it's still thriving. And one of the ones that really blows my mind is Turk's Cap. Turk's Cap is when I saw that for the first time, I said, I want that plant in my yard.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and to see it out in the wild, it just amazes me.
Those roots go really deep.
They do. As a matter of fact, I should have probably bought some today. I have been propagating those. Okay, so enough of that. Let me move forward. So this is what happens. We talked about the global. There is, I want to say about 800 cities participating, and we saw that little map of all the little dots and where they're at. In the U.S., while I say that we're the national champs out of the 50, actually there was 48 cities that participated last year, and we were number one across the board. Yahoo! But anyway, in Texas, there's actually this year, there's 16 cities. And we talked about the counties, and we talked about where those, the project that was where the painted buntings were. That's our project. It rolls all the way up. So when you do an observation in this area, in our area, it actually rolls up to Texas. It actually rolls up to the global, so it's all collected together. And you can see, but one thing we do different here and why we're so, I think, good at it is that we kind of gamified it. We made it a game. We made it fun. We made it, we gave individuals goals last year. We don't have the same goals this year because the rules have changed, which is okay. But we gave goals, last year we gave goals of 1,000 observations, but that's like running a marathon. This year it's really species that biologists are really after, is knowing all the species, and I'll get into that. And there's other events going on. We do, if anybody has people in college, TLC here in Seguin is doing the college event. So we've gotten all 10 colleges in the area, and they're all competing against each other. High schools, we have 23 high schools competing. They're mostly in the San Antonio area, Comel area. So we've kind of, again, gamified it. And where we kind of sit is right over here. And that's what you have. When you contribute to that project, you'll be contributing to our project here in Guadalupe. And you don't see the other groups, but there's at least, I think, 11 other folks that are competing the same way. Okay? And they don't like me to say competing either. They like when they say collaborating. Okay. So when you do join, so that's why I say join the project. That helps our Guadalupe Master Gardeners as we start comparing against the Wilson County. Which one's more which group is more wild? That's what I like to say. Which is the wild group? Okay? So I'm going to shift a little bit from the City Nature Challenge. And I kind of mentioned this last time I was here up front, my little commercial. We could probably do projects. I know we have our project here for that 4-day weekend, but you could actually do projects year-round. And here's a couple of projects that I've helped create. Cibolo Creek Ranch, which is actually in Bexar County, and I think only the mailbox sits in Comel County. It's kind of funny, but I created a project. You can kind of see the number of observations, and they are part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife, Great Texas Wildlife Trail, and how many species they had, and how many people have been identifying, and you could go on. I did do one for my brother up in Mountain Home, the other side of Kerrville, because he wanted to see what was going on. He has, besides his buffalo, bison, thank you. I would say Norm is his name. It's American bison.
I mean, you can call it a buffalo, but.
Yeah, you're absolutely, by habit.
Just saying.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
I just heard it.
to be technically, you gotta say, you gotta be American bison. But right now, we just started, 229 species he's found. And I do have a project on my property. It isn't as big as my brother's or big as Cibolo Creek Ranch. But me observing in my little 6 acres, I've already captured over 1,100 species in my yard.
No.
Yes, Ray. No, not bison, species. Yeah, just species.
You let them go, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'll get more into a little bit more detail on what I'm finding and what you could do with this tool. Because one of the things I wanted to find when I actually retired was I wanted to be a master gardener, and I also wanted to know what was living in my yard, good, bad, or ugly. Okay, but just an FYI, this Saturday I am doing an iNaturalist training, walk training there in Mountain Home. If anybody's interested in going an hour and a half to Mountain Home, I will be there. It's on the schedule. Also Preach, he's done his own, and you can see his observations in a number of species
They're
over
coming.
here. Huh?
Melinda and Robert, they're coming to speak.
Yeah, they're very good. And also Kirchhoff is another one in Wilson County, and they have 677, and they've had lots of bio blitzes. And then naturally there's Poly Mansions is there. They have one.
How many species do we got?
Well, and there's an error on that. You have
Oh,
1,000 days. And we need to fix that, but it gives you a good indicator. And what's throwing it off is there's 3 observers. I'm the one that's throwing it off. Okay, I need to unjoin it. That way it just shows y'all's stuff. But anyway, that's a little technical there. And then I did find somebody in Guadalupe County, this guy, or this person, who's actually tracking on his property. And it looked like 3 acres, and he's still, you know, he wants to know what's there, and you can see what's coming and going. So what are, just an FY, Kirchhoff, if anybody is interested, we are going to do a walk there April 26th in the morning, and then also Creech that Sunday at Kirchhoff, and Monday at the following Monday at Creech Prairie. So if you want to come before they talk, come and talk, see what they're talking about, you're welcome to come. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Okay, I actually live in La Vernia,
Yes,
which is Wilson County.
Yes.
I'm part of the Guadalupe County Master Gardeners. So
Me too.
when I join this group, then the pictures that I take on my property will go for our group?
yes, very good question.
Yes.
Yes, as long as you join that project,
This is what,
it will go there. That's why you have to join it.
okay.
And it's why it's optional for the San Antonio metro area, because there you have to be just geographically in the location.
Okay.
Here, to separate everything, you gotta join it. Very good question.
Yeah.
Okay, oops, I went too fast. When the earth laughs in flowers. Okay, that's what Emerson said. But when I bought this property, it wasn't laughing. It was sad, very sad. I want to say it was in the summer, but Mama wanted to move to next to her sister, so I mean, I was looking for property here, there, and everywhere, and she said, no, 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 no. I said, wait a minute. Every time you say no, where do you want to move? I said, I want to move next to my sister. I said, okay. I said, okay, if you go find who owns that property and give them a good offer, a reasonable offer, and they accept, I'll say okay. So that's why I ended up here. So, and it is in Wilson County also. So we did, you could see, this is still in the summer. This is all little blue stem. All this is little blue stem, and it was naturally there. If you go back to the other, this tree right here is actually this tree right here, same tree. So fell right in the right spot. I did have to clear power lines, so I did have to cut. I think and this is my guilt of building a house, is I had to cut down 18 trees.
oh, Peter,
I know.
that's horrible.
But I've already put more than,
You've made it up.
I made it up. But anyway, and you can see mulch right here. One thing, I'm going to sidetrack again. But if you know, one thing I've realized that, you know, these trees, this is in the summer, if you see the shade right here, all this shade, a lot of times people will tell me, so why don't you clean it up? And my in-laws were notorious in complaining about, you need to clean it up. And I said, no, I like it low. And I said, well, what happens when you cut the grass? You're going to knock off, you're going to fall off, they're going to knock you off those branches. Well, the reason why I do that, and this is if you know, a tree has its cambium right next to the bark. And when it heats up, when the sun hits this cambium, it actually could boil it. And that's where some of the trees are dying, is because they're getting that heat. So all these trees, you could see that they're in the shade, at least during the heat of the day, okay? And they're causing their own umbrella, shade umbrella. So just food for thought. So when I was there, back in 2016, this is a picture from 2016, I came across this flower. Anybody recognize that flower? An asterisk. Okay. An aster, no. It is a native plant. It was the first time I saw my land giggle. It was, and I was just like, wow, it looks like a carnation, it looked like an asterisk, but I was so intrigued with it. And I had looked and looked, I looked at books, and I left all my books, and I wanted to say, hey, I got all these books just to figure it out. And I could not figure it out. And I even went to the River Authority and asked Lee Marlowe, if you all know Lee Marlowe, restoration ecologist, and she looked it up. No, it doesn't look familiar, you know. And 2 weeks went by, and we still couldn't figure it out.
Milkweed.
Huh?
It's a milkweed.
It's not a milkweed. Butterflies, everybody was visiting that flower, so I said, I got to take care of that flower. I like that flower.
Looks like some kind of,
And it's actually called San Polyphoxia. It is endemic to our location. And what I mean by endemic, you won't find it anywhere else. But one thing, I did have deer pressure, and this is actually almost the same spot where you saw the other way where it was all dry. That's all the little blue stem, and we did have deer pressure at the time, and they would come and nip the tops, actually nip the flowers, and they wouldn't kill the flower, but it would deadhead it. That's what they were doing. But it would take away food from the pollinators. So I was tracking this, and this is just one example what I was doing. San Polyphoxia, you know, I was tracking it through the years. It is endemic. I did find that out. 2018, it was there, 2016, all the way to 2023, and all of a sudden in 2024, it was gone. I could not find it anywhere in the neighborhood, and I drove around Wilson, anywhere, you know, I could not find it. So I went back to iNaturalist and said, okay, is anybody finding it? So you could see that it does have a history, so as we make observations, it does record this automatically, and it says, yeah, it does have some locations that it's been found, so it's not totally gone. That was good news. And also, and I also looked at the seasonal thing. So am I looking in the wrong season? You know, and it was right here. So it was in peak season, so I knew it was gone. So these are things you could find out in iNaturalist that are in the background. It collectively puts all the data for you automatically. The other thing I found, somebody was saying it was an aster. Well, it's actually in the, you could also find out it's in the, it is in the aster family, sunflower, and there you go. Okay, and this is a taxonomy, so the person that's actually doing the labels that says, I put the scientific location, kudos to y'all, because I like that. Because sometimes common names are the same, and using the scientific name is good. And this is one way you could go find the scientific name of this plant, and it sits right here. So, and you know you have the right one. So going back to 2024, it was gone. I was really sad about it, you know, losing that one plant. And I want to say this is the Native Plant Society, or I found some location that said it's endemic to all this area. Okay, it's dark. I said, okay, well, it's an area. So I went back to iNaturalist and looked in our area, and I said, yep, these are what I was tracking on that graph I had showed you. So it was further north, and maybe it was just a heat of the day. But we kind of live right here in this area. So I know it's gone in our area. And so how do I bring it back? And I will tell you, the year, probably 2018, when it was growing in my yard, I did have this one botanist send me an email saying, hey, can you give me some seeds? And I said, sure. So I sent him some seeds. I think he lost his also. But anyway, good news, back in December, this last December, I did see this in the front yard. So it was just lying dormant for a year. First thing I did is I put a fence around it. Keep it. So it's real weird because it's a fence, and it was right in the front, and actually where you saw the trees, it was actually up that far up from the house.
why do you think they're disappearing?
Heat, it could be just the conditions have changed, you know, that's a mystery to me right now. But that's something, as I look at it, as I observe, the more, you know, you know, Scott, you kind of said, you know, hey, we learned a lot, but we still a lot to learn. That's where I'm at too. Okay, you do learn a lot with this thing. Here's another plant that kind of stumped me when I found it, and this one's growing a lot in my yard. Anybody recognize that one?
Dandelion?
Dandelion? Nope. Okay, let me give you some hints. It is a great pollinator. It's square bud daisy. Once you know, let's say, why do they call it square bud daisy? And actually, I had to take this plant to Native Plant Society, and this was before I was really into iNaturalist. Because in iNaturalist, it took me like 2 seconds to find it. But the reason why it's called square bud daisy, because before it blooms, it does a square. So that's why it's called square. So that's why a lot of the names come from just characteristics, and that's why I say when you take a picture, you may want to take different parts of the plant because it shows its characteristic. So you really, if you take a picture of this, you really have to turn it around and take a picture from the behind. Not to be personal, but so just some more, you know, hopefully I'm not going to bore anybody with this, but I'll get to a point with this. So back in April last year, I had like this many species.
How much is it?
1,124.
Okay.
And I was capturing, anybody recognize that? Sphinx moth. Yeah. It is a white-lined sphinx moth is what its actual name. I don't know its scientific name, but you could find out in there. It was pollinating my lemon trees. As a matter of fact, this year my lemon trees were pollinated by the pipevine swallowtail. And I forgot to say that. And they I think they say my pollination for my lemon trees, because there were no western honeybees around that I could see, and because it was blooming early in late February, March. It was blooming before its time. So it's good to have other pollinators to take over. Then, like I said, I also in Audubon, and I do like to take pictures of birds. And this one was dancing in my bird bath in the heat of the summer. So anyway, so in 2025 or 2026, actually, what surprised me in a year, I've also captured another 174 species that I was not aware of. You know, just but one of the things I will tell you what I've done recently, and us as master gardeners, we only go outside in the day, right? And we never go outside in the dark. I like to now do what's called black lighting, where you actually get UV lights and see what bugs come to that light. So it's pretty cool. That's another little secret that we have. We're doing a lot of black lighting events. I'm doing a black lighting event at Helton Park, the 26th, if anybody's interested in that. So I signed up for the homegrown, anybody at Homegrown National Park? Mm-hmm. And we're good. So it's just if us as a community just consider our yards to be a little nature park, a national park, we would have the biggest national park in the world. And that's the idea, is bringing biodiversity back. So here's my breakup of what I was, you know, my statistical breakup. And this is, like I said, this might be, hopefully it's interesting, but I had this is last year's statistics, like this year, I did not update it. This year, 375 species total, 32% of my total. 251 were wild and 106 were cultivated. And then who said there's a lot of bugs? Well, actually, you can see the difference between there's 32% of my plants that I observe, and I try observing more plants. But I've always find, this is just species, different species, but I always find more bugs. You're absolutely right. 53% of my observations are on insects. You know, mostly butterflies, moths, and beetles. Birds is very low, 6% that come across my yard. And you could see I did have bluebirds coming in. I've always, what's counted on here, I do have sand cranes that do fly over, and I will capture those flying over. And I have, this year, I captured some going across the property. And I think on your property over there, I captured a woodstock. And that's a rare bird. What's the bird that brings the babies?
Stork.
Stork, there you go. A wood stork.
A wood.
Thank you. So, 6 species were frogs. Sorry, my mind went blank. And then spiders, scorpions. I didn't realize scorpions were part of the spider group. And so you can kind of see the breakdown. Reptiles, don't tell my wife, I've seen 16 different types of reptiles. She does not like snakes at all. But they're all been friendly. The only one that's been dangerous is a coral snake. But they have so small of a mouth that they really can't bite.
Peter, do we have to share this with our wives?
No.
Good, okay.
Yeah. But I will tell you, she's got into iNaturalist, and as she gets more into it, it does build a kind of a confidence, and I've seen a confidence in her, in mindfulness, in knowing nature. So my idea today is not to give you what we call fact bomb, but just to spark you all into being interested in doing, looking at this as a tool. Okay, native plants in my property. Why buy very little plants is not to take away from this plant sale. Y'all are doing wonderful. Native to the property, and these are native to the property. This is something I not bring in. 211 plants were I've discovered there.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and then I gotta admit, I also found through iNaturalist wild introduced plants. So that means they came in by themselves and they're not native to this area. And there were 40 plants. And some of the plants are like, you probably all seen this rescue brome. Another one that I don't like is, there's a funny, marsh parsley. I went to a Native Plant Society meeting, and somebody was giving away marsh parsley, but it had a caterpillar on it. It had the, it must be a native. No, it was not a native. It's actually a very invasive plant, or not invasive. It just
Doesn't belong.
yeah, it's not. But anyway, there's other plants native that they will go to. Also, I have cultivated about 106. So you can see I tend to recycle my natives. And actually, towards the end of this meeting, this is one that I've recycled, Cowpens daisy.
What? Cowpen daisy?
Cowpens daisy.
Yes. They're beautiful.
Yeah, so I'll be giving away those, or some, and I pull them on my yard. They pop up everywhere, but if they're in the path, I just pull them out, and they recover just fine. And I'll give them away, or put them down the driveway to be a little bit more in the proper place, because a weed is only a plant that's in the wrong place, right? So if you put it in the right place, it's a good plant. So. And then I found 4 plants that are actually in the conservation status. And then also another neat thing, everybody knows this plant here, Millie Blue Sedge. What other things I like to figure out is what are deer resistant. Deer resistant plants is what I put in the front. There's no fencing. So I have to be very conscious of what I put in. So Millie Blue Sedge, Salvia farentia. And why I like to look at the taxonomy is you kind of you could learn a little bit about it. So here's Millie Blue Sage, and if you go up the family tree here, you can see that the family tree is mint family, which is good. And that tells me anything in the mint family is deer don't like it. And these guys are fighting over who's going to eat that mint. They were in my backyard. They were actually clashing each other. But so that's another good thing to know what's above what family it belongs to. So one thing about the sage is, if y'all don't know, is another characteristic of this plant. If you look at this stem right there, it has a kind of a square stem,
All stages do.
and all sedges do, all mints. So that is a characteristic of mint. And I've been to the store and saw this beautiful plant and asked what plant it was, and I think it was just a down 181 nursery. They really didn't know their plants. They just I said, I don't know. They just knew the name of it, the common name. And I looked at the stem and I said, oh, it has a square stem. It must be in the mint family. And I looked it up in iNaturalist. Sure it was. But it was a non-native. So I did not buy it. But anyway, you could kind of see what's happening here. Also, it does filters for, you could do cultivated and wild. And here's one thing that I started doing is, and I meant to, you know, when you go to HEB, you have these little cards. I brought all mine. I don't like to go down the, I only go down the express because they don't have the cards in there. I mean, I have like 30 of those cards because every time I go buy some. But this is a kind of a, this is kind of what you could do in iNaturalist also. You could put all the butterflies in this area. And I do butterfly surveys also, one coming up in June. And they give us a list on what we should be seeing or should be in this. And there's about 102 butterflies that should be in this area, at least in the San Antonio, Bexar County area, 102. So I put them all in here so I could actually pull them up when I'm out in the field and say, well, how does it really look like? So it kind of gives you a list. And I do want to improve this list to have what are the host plants and so forth. Not only the, you know, like the host plant for the, what's the horn tomato that, you know, did you know that, you know, you ever ask the question, what was it eating before we came and put that tomato?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, good question. You know what it is? One of them is doveweed. So every time I find one, I go put it on my doveweed. Hey, munch away. And or I give it to the mockingbirds. But either way. And then just to give you an FYI, I'm not going to go into deep into this. This is just Texas Parks and Wildlife does use all that data, and they do crunch the data. And that's once we're done with the City Nature Challenge or the 4-day weekend BioBlitz, they do collect that data. I did volunteer to analyze it as a master naturalist. But let me talk about this one. I know it's really have all these names up there. You really can't see them. But these are all the species of greatest conservation need. In Wilson County, and Keith and Robin will know, they're building data centers in Wilson County. And we're very concerned that it's going to start absorbing our water, our electricity, you know. So one of the things that I was tasked to do, and I provided it very simple with iNaturalist, is I knew all the observations that were done in Wilson County, and I bumped it against the Texas Parks and Wildlife list. And that list, I had one of butterflies, but Texas Parks and Wildlife has a list of all the species of greater conservation need in Texas. So I bumped those two together, and I was able to provide them with a list of species of greatest conservation need. Now, we haven't figured out what we're going to do with it. At least I don't know, but at least we know, you know, is it something that's federally protected? So how can we minimize that impact of the data centers coming to Wilson County? Okay, so that's another tool why I like this tool. Okay. Okay, so here's our project again, and if you go into projects, much time. If you go into projects, any project in iNaturalist, always look at the project itself. Here's our San Antonio one. We're 7 days away from the actual event.
Yeah.
I always like to see project requirements because they always change based on our project requirements for City Nature Challenge. You can't observe dogs, cats, or humans.
Dogs, cats, or
So,
Go ahead.
so are we doing the City Nature Challenge or the City Nature Challenge Global? Because there's two.
When we join our project, you know how I show that global and then Texas and that. when you do an observation will go to many projects. So once you do it, it depends on how you, if you join that project. So to answer your question, just do an observation within our zone.
Okay,
And you do it to our Guadalupe project, it will actually roll up all the way to the global.
so Guadalupe is not in here yet.
It is.
It is.
Okay, you just won't see it in the global, because the globals are just the cities.
Okay,
And then-
but the city nature challenge 2026,
Yes.
and then there's the one below it, that's the city nature challenge 2026 global project.
I don't know what you're looking at, but
But I don't have there's not a Guadalupe one,
right, depending on what, it looks like you're looking at umbrellas. Is that an umbrella project?
probably.
Okay, so an umbrella project is, so umbrellas are, you could put all the cities together, and you're probably looking at all the cities, right? So what we've done is, I've put all the civic groups, like the Master Naturalists, the Native Plant Society, there's gardening groups, us, there's all into what we call a civic group, okay? And that's where we're actually gamifying that portion. But once we make an observation in one of our projects, it rolls up all the way up, okay? Going back to the requirements, the big change that I was saying that La Paz had an edge on us, they did a lot of casuals. In other words, they did a lot of landscape. They didn't, and biologists don't need landscape observations. So that's what they were doing. At least 80% of their observations were at a botanical garden, at a zoo, and that's not really getting out in the field and helping the biologists. So they have changed it, and one of the big changes, it's only research grade, and as long as it's a verifiable data, they don't do casuals. You could still do casuals if you want, it just won't be reported in this report. Okay, and then the time is good. So let me see how I answer your question, because there's our area. So here's our project. So going back to the San Antonio project and the Guadalupe project, if you participated in this project, it rolls up automatically up to it. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. It is also 7 days away, and if you look up here, one of the things that if you got an email, there was 4 people last night. There's actually 11 people right now signed up. So I do have plans for y'all, and the same requirements. The only requirement that you see different is this right here, and hopefully this answers you. Members only. So we as a member are joining our own project, but it will still, again, it will still roll up all the way up to the global. Okay, let me go a little bit faster because I know I'm running out of time. Accuracy, one of the biggest questions I get or problems I see is people in iNaturalist, you can make an observation, has a location, but you can also put the accuracy. You could put it in meters, you could put it 6 meters, 7 meters, but nobody defaults to a good sizing normal meter. Scientists only want less than 500 meters. We shouldn't have a problem with that. But another problem I see is if you're too close to a border, let's say you're at the edge of Guadalupe County, touching Hays County, and it goes into Hays County, your accuracy, it does not count. So that's one of the biggest questions I get a lot. And if y'all are interested, we do ID parties after the City Nature Challenge. This is a good way of learning plants, animals, insects. We actually go and look at all the observations, and we try to improve our research grade. And we will be having 2 parties there in Feeder Wilderness. There is a place to eat, and we actually bring in pizza and soda, and we actually sit down and try to identify all the observations people have done, and then we'll also do it at Phil Harburger on the 1st. So, and again, Phil Harburger Conservancy is offering, is giving us free food, and you can see the sodas. No alcohol, sorry. So step number 2 that was on your paper, hopefully y'all have done that and didn't have any problems. But if you can't, the only question, those that are new, not new, but visiting our chapter tonight, y'all are welcome to join that one. You're welcome to get your family and friends to join. The more the merrier. It is not limited to us as members. It is open to the public. The more we get, the better we show. We could beat Wilson County Master Gardeners. And I will be talking to them next Thursday. And if you, I don't know if you all noticed in the requirements, 3 years ago, when I picked up the co-organizers, they told me, Peter, you cannot show up in every project. So I'm exempt from showing up in this project because I'm considered what is called a sandbagger. I will skew the data for y'all. Sandbagger. Okay, so hopefully y'all have that paper. If you can't do it tonight, maybe take it home and try to do it. There is some training. If you go look at I do have some rulers here. If you want rulers, it does have our website. I do have limited number of rulers because they cost us and we're on limited budget. But I will give it to people that are very interested. With that said, this is what I'll be, if you did steps 1 and 2, I'll be giving away some plants in a bit. And then I would love to come back in May and see who won within our group. How's that? And I'll talk to Pam and see Pam's a better organizer of putting gifts together. So I'll ask what we get. We do give trophies to certain groups. I know all the high schoolers, the campuses, all they're going to, every segment that we built. We also have corporations competing against each other. It's gotten so good that we have corporations outside of San Antonio area that are asking us to join ours. And I said, yeah, okay, I did. We're doing it. So we have 18 corporations participating with us. Although the ones in Houston, Dallas, and the Valley will not count to us, but that's okay. It helps the collaboration across Texas. Okay, and that's me. If you're interested, that's the profile that I sent Pam. My write-up. The only thing you missed, Pam, is the River Authority. I'm actually on the Environmental Advisory Committee.
See, I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay. You did very good.
So many things that he's part of.
And if you're interested, there's the QR code, and time to give away a plant. Or if you want to start with your
Okay, we have 57.
Isn't he amazing?